Live. Good morning to everybody. Good Sunday morning. Camera open and just, have a chat with you guys. Defense. So, over the years, my training has evolved very much in terms of what I'm training, but what I'm teaching, what I'm focusing on, what I'm seeing as I grow older as well, and the type of people who are watching my video and the type of people who are reaching out to me, what they really want in terms of self-defense. And more I'm focusing on something that I've noticed most martial arts, self-defense, and systems don't cover, right? And 90% of them don't cover this aspect. Most of them don't, and some of them not enough. And right now in my training, what I'm covering is the 3 to 7 seconds prior to the strike, right? I cover everything more than ever in terms of before the actual first punch, the actual first strike, before the attack. What happens from the moment you make visual or intuitive contact to the moment that you got attacked? Those 30 seconds, 1 minute, the 4 seconds prior when you're talking to the guy and he decides to pull out the knife or attack you, those are the most important moments prior to the attack. Then you have the physical and then you have the aftermath. What I'm doing more than ever, guys, I'm focusing so much on awareness, psychology, awareness, verbal defense, everything prior to the strike. And more systems need to do that, need to focus on that. So before we start, guys, I'll just let everybody know, go visit my website, nickdrossos.com. I actually just posted right now. What I did is I did safety tips in public places because a lot of people asked me about that, right? I have 50-year-old women watching my videos, 60-year-old men. Not all of them want to walk into an MMA cage and fight to learn self-defense. The woman doesn't want to go and take, 3 times a week jujitsu at, 45 years old when she's got 2 kids, a full-time job. But they still want to learn how they can be safe. They still want to learn safety tips. They still want to learn like the most basic self-defense moves or techniques that you can use. And I think that in terms of self-defense and martial arts and people watching the video, I always say it's not about learning more. It's about learning less and then training more. So in terms of if you're watching this video and you ask yourself, Nick, does my does your martial arts or self-defense start from the punch or the strike, or does it start from learning the moment I walk out of my house? What can I do in my daily routine to make myself a hard target? Are you training your awareness through drills and exercise to develop and heighten that radar? Are you are you learning and training your verbal skills, verbal judo, how to diffuse, how to de-escalate, how to pattern interrupt, how to manipulate and control a situation psychologically? Then are you learning how to read body language, how to position your strike, what to look for when you're faced with an attacker? All this is self-defense. This is why 90% or most of them don't teach. I did my instructor course and I had a Krav Maga instructor come here, Jim Klutzia, who's unbelievable instructor. He told me, a lot of times we talk about awareness, but nobody actually teaches it. And he goes, after your instructor course, told me, he goes, I actually know how to teach it, what to do, how to talk about it. When we talk about awareness, what are you looking for? It's not the idea that I'm looking for everything, but what specifically am I looking for when I'm faced with an attacker? Voice situation. Where do you live in Canada? Jonathan, I'm in Montreal. So in my program, guys, you go check it out, nickdrossos.com. I have these, Nick, how do you feel about hand hardening, bone hardening condition? Oh, like smacking your hands. Look, I do it naturally from palm striking and working the bob dummy many times. So the most important how to avoid a fight. Absolutely. So when I strike the dummy, you guys could see my elbows are a little bit bruised. It happens or like, organically, if you want to call it, you know what I mean? If you're working, hitting a punching bag or a bob dummy, or you're working your strikes, I don't think you need to go and start punching a wall just to harden your knuckles. Yes, is it going to work over time? I'm pretty sure it does. I know people who have done it, but I'm not. I also don't want to screw up my body. What do we got here? Agreed. My first street fight, which wasn't planned, quickly learn never turn your back. I'm black belt American. Am I welcome in Montreal? Absolutely, man. Why wouldn't you be welcome, bro? For sure. But guys, if you want to train with me online, I do have an online program on my website. You could do one-on-one training online with me, whether it's self-defense, whether it's fitness, if you have questions, if you want me to review your training, whatever it is, you go check that out at nickjoseph.com. So, Kirill, what's going on, my man? So ask yourself, when you're looking at your self-defense videos, your training, is it realistic? What am I learning? So when people tell me, oh, MMA is the best for martial arts, I've never walked into an MMA school and them teaching me about, how to bring up my hands, how to diffuse, how to de-escalate, how to pattern interrupt, what to look for. No, they're going to teach you how to throw a strike. Believe it or not, the physical part of self-defense is the easiest. It's everything else that's that requires more training and is more difficult, right? You're talking about fear management, stress management, psychology, everything that comes prior to the strike. Yeah, and Jonathan, you're welcome, man. You're welcome to come to Montreal for sure. So, guys, it's very important when you're training. Don't just train your strikes. Train those skills as well. You know what I mean? There's drills that I've developed to. There's drills, verbal defense, and diffusion skills that I've developed through training that you can use. I'm embarrassed to say that I learned more than 6 months in boxing and 4 years in Kung Fu until. I was embarrassed to say that I learned more than 6 months of boxing. You know what I mean, guys? Boxing is your base. If you're learning self defense and you're like, oh, there's no if there's no self defense school or martial arts school, and you had to pick something, right? If you had to pick between a kung fu school, a karate school, or boxing school, I would definitely go into the boxing. Right? Boxing is your base, your footwork, learning how to strike, learning how to move. From there, it's easy to either throw a punch or palm strike, right? So you're adjusting your fighting, your sport fighting to self-defense, right? At the same time, you need to know you're not going to kickbox your way out of a knife fight. You're absolutely right. Most guys don't know how to fight, right? Most people, your average. I'm not talking about when we're looking at self-defense and what I teach. It's not to go out there and fight an MMA fighter, right? Any pro-trained fighter who trains, like Davis, you're fighting somebody like that. You're not even fighting. It's survival, right? It's survival when you're faced with somebody like Davis to defend yourself. And the idea is you're not going to win by fighting his fight. That's for sure. So you got to fight your own fight. People talk smack of boxing as being incomplete. However, the first speed reaction is absolutely a Roland Farrow. Absolutely. Boxing is, guys, it's your base, man. It's your base, your footwork, your speed, your timing. It's knowing how to throw those basic strikes. And then, like I said, it's instead throwing the palm, throwing in some elbows, some knees, headbutting. Again, my system is very, very, very simple. In like 6 months, you'll learn everything I have to teach you, right? After that, it's just about training it over and over, doing drills, doing scenarios. I learned boxing when I was 10 years old and found it worked on bullies in the street. For sure, man. How bad is crime, poverty in Montreal? It's not that bad, man. It's pretty safe here. We're pretty blessed. It's overall a pretty safe city. For sure, yes. But a guy like Joshua will have trouble against a guy like like micro cup. Miracle Cry. Look, there's no doubt that you're a boxer, you're a one-ranged fighter, right? There's a solid base, but if you take the MMA guy who could, fight on the ground, fight standing up, use his legs, clinch, he definitely has a lot of advantages, but that doesn't mean that the boxing is not gonna help you. So I'm actually liking this live, guys. We have a lot of people in here, and I mean, I'm going live more often. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a motivational Mondays. Going to be picking, I'm going to be I'm going live almost every day. I don't know what time to decide. Have you ever heard of 52 Blocks? I've heard about it. Sketch. I've never looked into it. If you can send me a video, I'd love to, kind of go through it. And what about wrestling or BJJ? Wrestling and BJJ are awesome, guys. There's some great skills that you're gonna get through wrestling and BJJ. Absolutely. But is it an end all be all? Are you gonna wrestle a guy with a knife? No, you're gonna get fucking killed. You know what I mean? So you're not gonna wrestle a guy with a knife. You're not gonna you're not gonna BJJ your way out of a knife fight, right? But you're still gonna acquire great skills that you can use. It's Quebec, absolutely, guys. I took kickboxing when I was 17. I've full contact karate for 4 years. That's awesome, man. I mean, again, I'm not the type to say what system is better and what system is not. Whatever you're training right now, if you're not training your situational awareness, if you're not training your verbal defense, if you're not training psychology, if you're not learning about it, understanding fear, stress, adrenaline, fight or flight, those are all things that could fail you before the fight even starts. I believe that self-defense isn't only fighting, but a lot more. First aid survival in hard situations are more important. Absolutely, man. That's a really good one, man. I'm Black American made who love to get. I'm not even gonna listen to you. In surviving a knife attack, will win a fight getting cuts. Really high possibility. Any tips, tricks to improve first aid? That's actually a really good question. I'm doing Krav Maga and I've been thinking of go kickboxing. Go, man, go do it. The more you learn, the better. And then just know what you're training for. I think that's a great idea. I would love to do a first kid survival. Break the hand. Okay. I'd love to do a survival self-defense video. If I do that, it's going to be on my website, guys. All my new self-defense videos, all my programs are on my website. I'm not posting anything else anymore on YouTube. I'm just doing lives here and just, talking with you guys and sharing information. But if you guys want to see my new videos, go check out my website, nickdrossos.com. Of guided chaos. No, I haven't heard of guided chaos. As for the blocking and punching and breaking the hands, look, you're definitely in a knife fight. You are going to get cut. The chance of you not getting cut are slim to none. When I worked in the clubs, I've seen fights and it's not like the knife fight doesn't look like how we train it. It's not like the guy comes out with the knife and he's doing this. A lot of times we didn't even know who had a knife. You don't hear it, you don't see it. It's very, very fast. And even when I do full out drills and scenarios and we use markers, even with all my years of training, I still end up getting cut. And I'm like, what, where did it come from? If I trap the hand switch, it's not like you see these slow motion self-defense videos that we're used to seeing. So, when you train, you got to train very realistically to it. Even sometimes you don't even know who did. Absolutely, Jani, you don't know who did it. I remember working in the club and somebody got stabbed and we had no clue who had the knife. We had, knife. We need to know that there's a weapon because a lot of times you won't hear it, you won't see it, unlike a gun. And I've seen guns shot in the club when they go boom, boom, you should see people duck, moving, like, man, people scatter. But the knife, what's dangerous about it, it makes no noise. It's a silent killer. And whether you're a fancy knife martial artist like you see, or you're just fucking psycho, it's just as dangerous. Are your kids learning any type of self-defense? Yeah, I'm definitely training my almost 20 years ago, they didn't really have what they have today. I was always wearing more clothes, but never, man, are you going to tell us one of the bouncer stories? I am. I think I'm gonna make a whole video for that, because there's so many, and I don't know which one is most, maybe I'll make a list. I don't want to just share a story. I want to teach through it and let you guys know what I learned for us. Show us a good video for blocking haymakers that is the only that use 90%. Let me see this. Show us a good video for blocking haymaker that is the, okay. I've seen a lot of BS fighting moves on YouTube, and yours is most effective. Thanks, Joshua. I try to keep it simple. People tell me, man, I love what you teach. It's amazing. For me, it's kind of weird because I look at it as it's just what I teach is kind of common sense. Do I still remember my first day as a bouncer? Holy shit, yeah, I remember, Dave. I'll share you guys a quick story. I remember my first, I won't say my week, my second week where there was the first big fight, right? So I spent all these years training in self-defense. Actually, you know what, guys? I'm gonna share this story in another live because I think it's a very interesting question and that people are gonna learn a lot about. Actually, you know what? I'll just fucking share it. It doesn't matter. So it was a fight. I was working at Wax Lounge. And here I spent years training, doing scenarios. I was getting in the ring, I was fighting. I was like really on the top. I'm 23, 24, jacked up at the prime. And I remember there was a fight that broke out in the club. And it was the first fight I was in that was chaotic. I mean, we were like 7 or 10 on 3. I can't even remember the numbers. And the fight just exploded, and all these guys just fucking attacked us. And I remember, man, it was the first real fight that I was in. And obviously, as a doorman or security, you can't run out the club. You got to sit there and you got to fight. You got to protect yourself, and you got to protect. At that point, they were attacking us. Protect the other 2 guys that were with me, the 2 securities, and basically we had to fight as a unit, which I knew nothing about fighting as a unit. I only learned that later with experience and training security. The guys, I would meet all the security and be like, okay, guys, if there's a knife, you do this. If there's this, there's this. Guys, if this happens, I take care. If you, like, I would create like a structure to the security so everybody knew what they had to do. So we're not like, you open the door, you take him out. Everybody knew what they had to do. So we're quicker to respond and react and communicate without needing to know you do this or I do this. So the fight breaks out. Man, I remember punches are being thrown, people are being kicked. And I remember I panicked. I was yelling. I was out of control. I was shitting my pants because it was the first time I experienced the chaos of the brawl, the bottles being thrown and screaming and not knowing who's fighting who. And I remember after that, it felt like I was so overwhelmed, and I said, fuck, even through all my training, all my scenario training, everything I've done, my years of practice, and went right down the tube, and I realized, holy shit, I never trained or really prepared for something like this. And man, was it, I remember going back and saying, fuck, I'm not training hard enough. I'm not training right enough. I need to make my training harder than what it is. And I need to make it as chaotic as possible to prepare me for something I just lived. And I remember after the fight, I was like shaking. I was under adrenaline. I was trying to stay calm and cool, but I felt like puking. It was a very eye-opening experience.